So first of all, I'll just start off by explaining the problem. And the problem is that a lot of times when framing joists or other framing members in Revit, it will frame into the wall, and a joist, for example, will frame into the middle of the wall when you really want the end of that joist to be at the edge of the wall. And that's just natural for framing members in Revit. If you're hovering over a wall, Revit will assume that, hey, I'm sitting on top of this wall, when it may not necessarily be the case. So in order to have your joist essentially stop and start at the edges of the wall, you need to have the angle in there first. That's basically the gist of it. So I'm going to go to the beam tool here, and I've created a reference plane just slightly below level 2 where that angle is supposed to be. Okay, and let me make sure that in my properties I've got the right family here, so I can place my angle. I'm going to purposely place it off the wall here. I'm going to go to my section view, and the first thing I'll do here is I'm going to change my cross-section rotation here to 270. Angles are not the most fun to work with in Revit, to be honest with you, but we'll go ahead and change that. And then I'm going to change my Y justification to left and click OK. I may need to mirror this, so it just depends on how I drew the angle initially. So let me go ahead and just change this to 90. And there we go. So that's basically the angle. Again, you just have to kind of play with that until you get the right orientation. And then I'll use my align tool. So go to modify and align. Select the edge of the wall. Pick that. And my angle's down the right spot. I'll need to mirror this angle across to the other side because, for the corresponding joist bearing. So I'll select it. Click on my mirror pick axis, select the reference plane, and again, this is just it's like working with angles here in Revit. I'll change the cross-section rotation to 270 degrees, and it should be in the right place now. Alright, so we've got both angles in the right spot. Let's go back to the plan view, and then in the plan view I'll go to the structure tab, beam tool, make sure that I am now going to model my joist. So let's find that 10K1 here. And I'll want my reference plane to be set at angle. If I set it to one of these others, even though that's where the joist really will be geometrically, it won't frame into the angle if I change that reference plane. And I can always adjust that here in a second. So I'm going to place this, make sure I hover over on top of the angle so it highlights on each side, and then click to place my joist. Okay, I'll click modify, go to this view, and now my joist is sitting down here. I'm going to select it and just pick a new work plane, or edit the work plane, that'll work, and change it to level 2. And now it's in the right spot vertically. And of course, if it depends on which joist family you're using, what angle you have. I don't know what geometry you're necessarily working with, but I'll go ahead and select it here, and then change the start and end extensions such that I'm aligning up against the wall. Change this to 3 inches on each side, and we should be aligned against the wall there. Now that's for an individual joist. For a beam system, it would be a little bit different, although you would still need to model in your angles first. That's the thing you would do first. And so what we'll do here is I'm going to create here a beam system. Click OK. We're going to use the boundary. So rectangle, do a rectangle, and then hover over. And of course snap on top of the angle, making sure I do that. And I'll do the same thing on this side. Of course adjust the properties of the beam type being used in the framing system, the number, your layout rule and all that as per your design. I'll finish the edit mode, click modify, and let's move my section up here to see what we have. Go to view, and again it's a little low, but that's because I needed to change the reference levels, so I'll do that real quick. Go back in here, select the structural beam system, edit the work plane. I could have set this right from the get-go to level 2, so that should move it up. And then again, it's just a matter of adjusting our start and end offsets. There's no way to do that for the system, so you just basically select all of them in the plan view, each of these joists, and that wouldn't be too hard, and then change the start net extensions as necessary. So hopefully that explains the general idea that of framing with joists in this type of scenario.